Hello everyone, in this tutorial I'm going to create a sanity system. So we're going to have a system that can increase sanity, decrease sanity, and then have a way of triggering effects. I'll show one or two example effects as well. So let's get started. So I'm in my horror project that I'm building. You shouldn't need to follow the rest of the tutorials just to get this one. But if I need to do anything, I will show you so you're not missing out. So I have a folder called components, and in here we're going to create a new actor component. So we're going to right click blueprint class and actor component. I'm going to call this BPC for blueprint component underscore sanity. So let's open that and put that there. So we're going to need a couple of variables. I'll call integers. First one will be current sanity. The bottom one will be the max sanity. We will do a boolean, which is doing effect question mark. The next things will be some data table variables, and I'll go over those, but we can create them now. So for these, we're going to call one low sanity, and it's going to be of type data table. And here, so object reference. We can call this medium sanity. Same again, data table, object reference, and then high sanity. And we can call it data table. Yeah. Like so. So let's set the let's start with setting the default variables. So the current sanity, starting off, we'll do 100, and the max will be 100. I'm going to create a function, and we're going to call that decrease sanity. So the way sanity will work, 100 is normal, and as it lowers, then that's when the worst things will happen. So in decrease sanity, what we're going to do here is we're going to grab the current sanity, and we're going to grab the max sanity, and then we're going to grab the current and do set. On the decrease sanity, we will we'll add an input. So you can click on it and then add input, and it will be an integer. The new parameter we're going to call amount. And this will control how much sanity we lose. So what we do now is we connect those up. We get the current sanity and we minus it by the amount. Then from the current sanity, we pull down and clamp. Hook the value up to the minus node. The minimum sanity will be 0 and the maximum will be max sanity. A clamp just means we can't go below a certain value. So if you want something to happen once you hit 0, what we can do is we can do a less or equal. The reason I do less or equal is just in case something happens and the number goes negative, this still covers it. So we can do put that in, and then on the true we can do print string and maybe player death, for example, and then we can do a return node. If we don't, if we're not below 0, then we can just look into that like so. So the next one is increase sanity. The input will be another integer and it will be the same, it will be the amount. For this one, we pull out and do a set on the sanity. Oops, and same again, we grab the max sanity, the current sanity, and we do current sanity plus the amount, pull down and clamp it. The minimum will be 0 and the max will be max. And then for this one, we don't really need to do anything unless you want something to happen when you're at max sanity, which is then we would pull out here, do greater or equal into a branch. And then you would do, if it's greater, print string, so full sanity event return and return. So that's the logic for increasing and lowering it. So the next one will be actually doing something when the next thing will be doing something when you trigger an event, or if something happens, or if you just want it to be random. So we'll do the one that is triggerable. And the way we'll do that is we will, first of all, we're going to create these data tables for this. So what I'm going to do is in my folder, I'm going to create a new one called data tables. And here, the first thing we need to do is make a struct, which is a way of telling the data table what is going to be stored in it. So we can come down to blueprint and structure. I'm going to call this S for structure underscore sanity. In here, we're going to add a name. Make the source. We're going to call it sanity effect name. We're going to add another, which is going to be a actor component, and it's going to be a class reference. And then this is going to be the effect. And then we are going to add a effect description, just so if you want some way of showing what effect is on the player, like if you wanted to pop up and say you have this, then we can do that, which will just be a text, and we can close that. What we can then do is right click and go to miscellaneous, and it's a data table. The row structure is going to be the one we just created, S sanity. So we can call it DT for data table underscore, say low sanity. We're going to duplicate by clicking and pressing Control D, and then we can type medium sanity, and then again we can create DT underscore high sanity. So if we open these, we now have the data table, and we can see our row names here. We've got effect name, effect component, and effect description. If I add one, the row name is just the name of the row it's going to be. So let's do example effect. Effect name, we will say color drain. The component we haven't created yet, but in here the description drains the color from the screen. Now we have that, we can add a few more. Let's actually rename this. We'll call this row name low. Oops. Low. I've got to rename it like that because it doesn't like the low effect. We'll add a new one here. We'll call this medium effect example. This will just be a medium effect, we'll call it, and then this is a medium effect. And then the last one is for the high sanity. So once again, we add high sanity effect. The effect name will be the high sanity effect. High sanity effect example. This is a high sanity effect. So now we have these data tables. The next thing would be to create the component, but we can do that later. Let's set up the logic for this first. So we can create a new event, which will be called trigger sanity effect. So when this gets called, what we want to do is we want to get the current sanity, yeah? And we're going to do a check on this to see what the current sanity is. So we could do a branch. And we can say if the current sanity is greater or equal than, let's say, what could be a good number? 70. Then we would trigger the sanity effect. We would do the logic here. Branch. So if it's not current, it's greater than 70. What we can do is we can say if it's less than 70 and greater than 25, we can put it in there. So this one would be the high sanity check because it's higher than that. This would be the medium sanity check because it's lower than 70 and it's greater than 25. So all we need now is another branch onto false, and we can say the current sanity is less than 25 because we don't need to check if it's greater than 0 because we know if it's lower than 25, that's fine. So then that can go into here. So the way this will work is we will enter here and we will check the sanity score. If it's greater than 70, we will do this event. If it's not, we will check if it's between 70 and 25. If it is, we do this. If it's not, it goes down. And then the final one is if it's below 25, we do this, like so. So what we can do here is we can either do the code here or do it in another function, but let's do the code here. So the high sanity, what we want to do now is if it's true, we're going to grab the high sanity data table here. But make sure as well here, you actually assign it. So we just click on that, low, medium, and high. Yeah, there we go. The high sanity, what we want to do is we're going to grab the data table and we're going to get data table row. And then from here, we're going to get the data table row names like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do true here. And we're going to pull out from the data row name and we're going to do random array item. So we're going to basically, if we had multiple, we would get a big list of these and then randomize, pick one, and we would pull it out. So because we only have one, we'll only get one. So what I'll do is I'll make another example and I'll call this low example effect 2. It can be, I don't know, falling asleep. Makes the player fall asleep. There we go. Now we've got 2 now. So we will get the name, we will randomize it, we will then get the table row like this. At the out row, we will break like this. Then we will do the effect. So the way we can do this is, just for now, we can do print string. From the print string, I'm just going to format text, and I'm going to right click format text, and I'm just going to, so we can do effect, and then if we do curly brackets and do E like that, and then we can say description curly brackets D. We put the E into the E and D into there, and then connect that back up. So if we test this now, let's see. If we go to our player, the first person character for me, and we add, and then search BPC underscore Sanity. We add that in. What we can do, we can pull this out, and we can say keyboard K. See, what's a good one? N, for example. We can pull off from Sanity, and we could do effect, trigger Sanity effect. So let's try that. If I come in here and I press N, so effect, high Sanity effect, this is an example. So because we're at high, this is what we're doing. So what I can do here is, if I move this to here, just to show it, because we're at high effect, if I press it now, oh, why didn't it do that? No, that should work. And oh, of course, high Sanity, and I've done the thing on the low Sanity. So if I unclick that and put the low in, do that. Let's try this. Press N, color drain again, color drain, falling asleep. So this will run like go between, but because there's only 2, it's a 50-50 on what it will actually do. Let's put that back as it was, and then we can just get rid of that because we know it works. We can build the rest of these now. So we will do let's move this up like that. So the next one, we can do the same. So you could put this into a function or a macro or something. But for now, I'm just going to show it like this so it's easier. So we can basically copy this in its entirety, except which table we're using. So we can do it again for this one, like so, like that. And then medium Sanity we can drag out, and low Sanity we can drag out. It's like this. So connect those up, connect those up. Okay. So in the player, let's put on the event tick, let's do a check. So we'll replace this one that gets the health. And we'll just drag in Sanity, and we'll get Sanity, get the current Sanity, and we'll plop that in like that. So now this number in the top left is the current Sanity level. So if I press N, nothing will happen because I've removed the checks. So now we have this. What we're going to do is, before we start playing more with this, let's set up something here so we can lower the Sanity. So keyboard 8, grab BP Sanity, and we can do lower. Is it lower Sanity? Let's see what I've called it. Sanity, decrease Sanity, like this. I'm going to increase it by 10. And then we'll do keyboard 9. And we'll do a increase sanity like this. And we'll do that by 10 as well. So now if we try this, we're at 100. If we press 9, we're at full sanity. If we press 8, we go down. So we're losing sanity. Once we hit 0, that's when you would do your effect that we set up, or whichever. So the sanity effects. Let's create that. Because these are, we're going to use components which basically attach themselves to the actor, do the event, and then they'll destroy themselves. We're going to create a new folder for that and call it Sanity System. In here, some folders, so we can do low effect, and then we can make a medium effect and high. I'm going to create 1 or 2 examples, and then so I'm going to create 1 or 2 examples for this, just to show you. I may release another video later that goes through some more examples you can just use. So I'm going to create a blueprint class, and it's going to be a actor component, and I'm going to call this bpc underscore effect, and let's do color drain, and then let's add another one. We can call this BP effect sleep. So let's do the color drain first. So what we want to do is basically, once these get attached to the player, the begin event thing would run. So for the color drain one, what we can do is we can get the owner, and that's basically going to get whichever component this is attached to, and it will get the owner, which should be the player. So for the color drain, we need to get the player's camera. So we can pull off from the get owner and get component by class. Now we know the player has a camera, so we can search camera component. This is a way you could get another component of the player. Say third person, and you want the you want to get the mesh because you want to modify the mesh, or you want to like make its head fall off, like happened in Eternal Darkness, things like that. You could get that, but for us, we want to get the camera component. From the camera component, we want to get the post-process settings. And in here, if you click on it, the default values, you can see here, we can't fully interact with them yet. To do that, from pull off and do set members in post-process settings. So now we can basically modify any setting of the camera here. And what we want to do is search for saturation, and we want this color grading global, and we want to click as pin. Now what we can do is we can pull down here and we can do a make vector 4. Now what this will do is we'll take these numbers and it will convert them into a saturation, and then it will modify the camera. So if we try this out, we can just come to the first person character and literally add the effect. So color drain. So now if you can see, we have the colors. If I press play, the effect comes in, and now we're black and white. We're now in black and white mode. But we don't want it to, say, instantly happen. Say we want it to happen over time. So we want it to gradually change the color. So to get it to do that, what we're going to do is We are gonna first we're gonna create two variables. Let me just hide these. First one will be the starting float value, and the next will be a Boolean, and it will be should drain column. On the begin play, we are going to do a set that to true, and the next bit will be on event tick because we can't use timelines in this. We're going to use on event tick. And we're just going to do a branch and say should drain color. This just means that it doesn't start before we've actually begin play. That can sometimes happen. If it's true, we're going to plug that. Now the logic here, the starting value we are going to set to 1. So I'm going to pull that out and we're going to get set as well. Now let me move that here. It needs to be up here. Now the values for this will go from 0 to 1. So what we can do to make sure that we don't accidentally go minus, we can pull these off and do clamp like we did earlier, clamp float, and all the values can go into the same because we want it to all be the same number. The true will go into this set the starting float value. What we want to do now is get the starting float value and do minus, and because it's set by default to 1, we want to do a small number like 0.01. We plug that into the value like so. The return value actually will then go into here, and this one here will go into here like this. So now if we try, let's see what happens. If I press play, we're instantly in the black and white. Why is that? Let's see. Starting floor is 1. We come into here and we are setting. Oh, I see. It needs to be a smaller 0.01. Let's see that. So we have the color. So if I watch these colors, they're just going to gradually fade out and till all the color is gone, and now it's in black and white. This. So now the sanity effect is kicked in and we're in a black and white world. So what if we want to bring the color back once this ends? So once this is done, like this, what we can do is we can, on begin play, we can set a timer. So a delay. So once we delayed, we were going to say this will happen for 20 seconds. Once that's complete, we're going to do the same we did here, which is we're going to grab the owner and the post-process setting, and we're going to set the members like this. We're going to make a vector 4, and we're just going to set these back to 1. So they all reset. So let's check that. And then we're also going to set the should drain color to false and then reset. So if we try, let's just set this actually to 10 for testing. So let's see. So we're starting to drain the color. And then we should reset everything. So now we're no longer in the effect. Once that's happened, we can then do a is valid on ourselves. So we can do is valid self. If it's valid, we can destroy component. So let's try this. So we can play that. We can get the first person character and we can see that the sanity is on it. See? And is the sanity still on it? Yes. Oh no, it's not. It's removed. So the effect has been removed. So if we stop, we check again. First person. So we have the color drain effect here. Let's see. We go along. And then we can check it again. Now we don't have it. So that's how we add the effect and remove the effect. Well, undo the effect. So what we can do in here is in the BPC sanity. So we're going to use it on the high sanity because that's how we have the set up at the moment. So in the data table for high sanity, we can the component effect. We can do effect color drain. Oops. Let's remove this from here so we can see it as it would happen in game. And then, so row found, what we're going to do is first we're going to print string. And then we're going to put that on, say, key 3, just so it shows up. And we're going to make it nice bright yellow so we can see it. We're going to format text again. Text like this. And we're going to then do effect. We'll just do name, curly brackets, an N in the and then disk, and then D like this. Press enter, or the name, and then that. That will show it. And then to add it onto the player, we do get owner, and then we can get, we can create, add component by class to the player, and then we hook that up. So now let's see if this works. So we play, we press N, we have the effect coming in, and we're fading out. And then we back to normal. So that's how we do that. If you want the effects to trigger actually in an area, we can do that. We can create in a sanity system, we can create a new blueprint, and it will be a actor, BP underscore sanity trigger. And then what we do in here is we need to, if you follow my previous tutorials, you should have the interface set up. If you don't, you need to have an interface on your player that you can interact with. To do this, you right click, blueprint, and then interface. You open it and you can add functions, and then you can come to your class settings and implement the interface. But for me, because I already have one, we're going to add it here. And we're going to call a function that will be a trigger sanity effect. And then we can go back to the sanity trigger. So we need a box collision. I'm going to set this so it's not hidden in the game. And I'm just going to increase the thickness and change the color to like a green. So on the box, we can click it and then we can scroll down to on component begin overlap. What we want to do, the other actor, we just want to call trigger sanity effect. So because the player is the only one with this this interface, this will just trigger. So if we try it now, what we can do then is we can do print string effect triggered, then is valid. If it is valid self, we are going to destroy. So we destroy the trigger, so we don't keep triggering it. So if I bring in the sanity trigger, like so, and if I now walk over it, so we've triggered the effect, but we haven't called it on the player. On the first person character, in our interfaces, we now have trigger sanity effect. And on trigger sanity effect, we want to grab BPC sanity, and we can do trigger, we can do effect, we can do trigger sanity effect, and then let's try that. So let's save and go. So we do it. We've triggered the effect. We've destroyed the box, and now we're doing the effect. And there we go. So now we have that. Do we want anything else? If you want to have your sanity regen over time, what we can do is you would... we should show how to increase this. Sorry. So the same way we've done this with the interface. Let me just find it, the player. What we can do here is we can do lower sanity and then increase sanity. That. And then the way you would do this is you can, with these two, you probably want to add an input for the amount you want to increase or lower it by. Like this. Amount, please. Does it not want to do that? Have any issues? Increase sanity amount. Why isn't it working? API player. Increase amount. Maybe it's complaining about that. That's fine. So what we would do here is the same, increase sanity and lower sanity. You would just grab BPC sanity and you can do increase, hook those up. The lower sanity, we can do lower sanity, like so. So what you would do then is like you would do for a health pickup, once you interact with an object, you would call this, feed in the amount. So I can show an example from my health pickup here. On the interact, you would get a reference and you would just do increase sanity or decrease like this. But for the let's see, the trigger effect triggered, that's done, that bit's done. If you want then the sanity to regenerate over time, you can do regen sanity, and we would get the current sanity and we would plus and then set the sanity, clamp it, and max sanity you would then put into the max like this, and then you would set how much you want to increase by, and then you would do a return here for now. And then yeah. So then what we would do is we could have a custom event which would be called regen stam. Uh, uh, sanity regen. This would do a timer by event. No, it could be timer by function. The function name is the one we just created, regen stamina. The time is, you can promote to a variable if you want, and that is actually the regen time. So how many seconds this would trigger. So say every 1 second, it would start refilling. Looping if you want the event to happen constantly. You can promote this to a variable and call it the regen timer handle, like this. So now when this gets triggered, so say if you have a game that your sanity goes down when you're in the dark, when you're in the light, you would basically call an event on the player, or you would call an event on the sanity, and you would say sanity regen. And you could do another event, which would be stop regen. And all that would do is it would get the regen timer handle and clear and invalidate timer by handle, like so. Which this would then allow you to have a system where you can regenerate the sanity. The other thing is we can do is we can check if that is greater or equal to the max sanity. If it is, if it's false, we can return. If it is, we can grab that and clear and invalidate timer by handle. Just so we're not running this when we don't need to, basically. Like it will stop it once it's done. So now we have a system where we can decrease our sanity, increase it, trigger an effect that is based, let me just clear this up, that is based on data tables, and we use components. I'm going to do one more sanity effect, and then that is everything. So we will do another effect. It will be here. So we got this sleep effect. The way we're going to do that is we're going to actually create a widget for this. So let's do here, and we'll do widgets. And we'll create a new widget, and it will be WBP for widget blueprint, sleep time. And we're going to have a canvas up here, canvas. Let's say we want it to have the screen is going to start like fading black and then sort of fading in and out, sort of like your eyes are getting weepy or sleepy or something. To do that, we're going to add a image, and then the image, we can come up to the anchors, hold Control and Shift, and click at the bottom right. So filled it. The tint is going to be black, like so. And the color and opacity, we're going to set to 0. So it starts off, it's nothing. Now to do this, we're going to actually use an animation, and we're going to call it sleep effect, like so. And we're going to add this. No, sorry. We're going to click on the image and then click add and then image. We need to add plus and it will be the color and opacity. So by default, it's going to be 0. So let's start with, let's say, second. We click here and we can set the opacity to 1. So like, we will like do that and then say another half a second. We set it back to 0. So we go like, we blink and then we're, so 2, set it to 1, 5, set it to 0. So this is just what we want. We want like a blink and effect, like, oh, we're falling asleep. Just a very simple thing. To get this to work, we want to, on construct, we want to play animation forward. The animation will be the sleep effect, like here. Like that. And once, then on effect, on animation finished, hang on, we could do animation finished sleep effect here. We're just gonna is valid. If self is valid, we're gonna just remove from parent, like that. So that's the widget. To add it to the effect, so when sleep effect starts, we will create a widget. The class will be sleep time, and then we're going to add to viewport. We're going to is valid. Is the component valid? Itself. If it is valid, we're going to destroy component. So let's add this one in and try it out. We will actually put this one in the medium effect. We can do like sleep effect. So sleep. And then if we play. So if I do, I think it's H, no, is it N or B? It's one of the keys to remove sanity. I've already forgot 8. There we go, 8. So if we lower it to 40 and press N, we did that one, which, why? That should have been the, is it 40? So we did the medium sanity. I don't know why that did that. Let's see. Why did that do that? So 8, 7, and then N. Oh, I haven't done this bit. Same thing here. Row found, act component to actor. The component by class will be the get owner, and the class will be the component here. I will just finish this off just to show this, like so. Now if we try it, let's see. So let's lower our sanity to 40 and press N. There we go. The sleepy time one is played. We increase our sanity. Why is that saying full sanity event? But we're not. Let's double check that. Full sanity. Oh, greater than equal to 0. Oh. Ah, that should be 100. Sorry, I forgot to do that. There we go. So if we're at 100 and we do it, we are in the grey mode. And then if we are below, we press it, then we get the sleepy time on. So this is just an easy way of, well, it's relatively easy of you having these sanity effects, and because they're in components, it makes it really easy to modify them to do whatever you want. You can add some random to it. You could, if you just want one sanity level, you can do that. This is just a nice little way of adding something different to your horror game to add to it. You can have sounds happen. You can create it so objects appear in the world that shouldn't be there when you're at low sanity, or maybe your camera flips upside down, things like that. You can do a lot of things with it. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any suggestions of things you want to see, please leave a comment. I do have a Buy Me a Coffee where you can support me. I've also set up a Patreon that I will have some full projects up at some point. And if you want to contact me, I think there's a way to message me through that as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope to see you next time.